So I'm here with Vale
Yes.
today, and I'd like to say hello. How are you doing?
I'm very good, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Okay, well, it's a pleasure to see you, and thank you for giving up the time to do the interview. Obviously, here to discuss the concepts of future proofing and how she's developed herself and managed her self-development through her career, and her story, what she's learned along the way, what's gone well, what hasn't gone so well, and what great advice she's been given and along her career journey. And then obviously at the end, which is the bit that I'm always really intrigued on, is how you're going to keep yourself future-proofed and developed, and to continue for the rest of your career. So to start off with then, if you could just give us a brief overview of your career to date and how you got to where you are at the moment.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think I've got quite an interesting background because I've studied law, international law, and now I'm working in clinical trials. So very, very different. So at university, I studied law, and I was studying in different countries in Spain, in Italy, and in the UK. So I worked a bit in the law environment. So as soon as I graduated, I was offered an internship in a very good law firm in Milan, and at the same time I was teaching Italian to a company here in the UK, and they offered me a contract in helping the business development team and working with them. So I think I was quite lucky that I could try both of the environments, the law firm and also the commercial environment. And I decided that the commercial one was a bit more suited for my kind of skill set. I really enjoyed the law firm, but the kind of environment was quite old style, very hierarchical. When you're very new in the system, they barely let you talk to a client or a senior partner. And when I was doing my experience in this commercial environment, it was much more fresh. You can talk, you can pick up the phone, you can talk to people. So I really liked the commercial environment, and I moved on from there. So I've been working for different healthcare and pharmaceutical companies, and now I'm the vice president for a company, and we provide services in the healthcare industry. So it has been a very distinctive pathway. If I think about similar people that they study law or they have done similar things to me, they probably have carried on in the law environment, and now we are on very different pathway. But I don't regret. It's been great. And yes, here I am today.
But quite often, it can be said that, to study in law, it gives you the opportunity to go into more or less any other area, but you wouldn't be able to go into another area, then get into law without having to do all the bits that you have to do. So it's a very good start, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it's true. Above all, in some countries, you only have access to some, I don't know, diplomatic position only if you have studied law or economics or a few other degrees. So I think it's been a good move. I really enjoyed studying law. I don't regret it at all. And I think I still have the kind of background when I have a contract or when I look at the commercial agreement. Sometimes I have that kind of mindset that a lot of other people they might not have.
Yeah.
But it's very different. Like I'm the only one that I know that has moved to such a completely different environment. I would say 95% of my or the people I studied with when we were at university, they stayed in law, and they are now doing legal jobs in sort of different fields.
So you've had to learn lots of other new skills then. So, what does self-development mean to you?
Yes, I think that's a really good question, because I think like at university or when you're growing up or or at schools, they never really teach you about how to look after yourself, and it's something that I just realized in the last couple of years, because there's so many books around about self-development, about time management, and I really like reading them. And at one point I thought, well, this kind of topics, they should be really taught in schools or university, and they don't. So it's quite an interesting topic, because I think like it's so important. We look after our body, we go to the gym, we go to lots of different places to look after our body, but nobody really tells us to look after our mind or look after our career. So I think it's very important to read or to look at webinars or podcasts. There's so much information around self-development, and I think it's something that each of us should take it quite seriously and start doing something about it.
That's a really good point. As you say, we're encouraged to do so many other things, but we don't sort of think about our mindset and our development, which is a really good point. So is there anything you'd wish you'd known at the start of your career?
Yes, I remember finishing university and like being in this kind of spiral of like, what do I need to do next? You come from a very competitive environment where all of your friends, the students, they want to do better, and you start looking around and you start looking at training contract, and you start looking at all different jobs opportunity. And I think sometimes when we are in that kind of position, we fret a bit, we are anxious. And if I look back, I would say to myself, just relax, and things will work out. Take your own time. It's not you don't have to prove anybody that you are that you're amazing. Just finish university, so just relax and look what is around you before you make any decision. Because I think, and I'm seeing this in quite a lot of young people right now that I look back, and they're all like thinking, they have a massive job on their self to prove that they are worth. But it's just take your time, and things will work out. It's
really
not
good
the end of the world.
advice. Yeah, I like that. Really good advice. So what are you doing to keep learning at the moment?
So yeah, I think at the moment with the lockdown, I am saving quite a lot of time in commuting to the office. So every day, sort of lunchtime or in the evening, I go for a walk and I listen to some podcast. I found there's a new word. There's so much out there in terms of time management, self-discipline, and I've learned quite a lot. So I just go on a walk or on a run, and I listen to some podcast. And what I try to do sometimes, when I come home, I take some notes about what I've learned. And I think is important, because very often you are thinking or something happened and you don't have the time really to assimilate what you're learning. So I made this decision at the beginning of the year that I wanted to learn more about self-development and other topics. So I'm still doing that every day, and making sure that this is a routine. If one day I don't listen or don't do anything about self-development, it's not the end of the world, but I just want to make that routine ongoing and keep doing as long as I can.
That's really good, and great discipline in making sure that you keep up with that as well, because it's very easy to drop off, isn't it?
Yes, but I think also changing little things, because I remember when I used to run before, I always had my headphones in and listened to some music, which is great. It's very relaxing. But now I found that I could use that time to listen to a podcast, or in the past when I had to go to the office, I was like, oh, this is such a long journey and I don't know how to spend my time. But now when I have a long journey, I'm quite pleased, because I have so many audiobooks and podcast, and depending on the kind of journey I need to do, I can plan my podcast or my audiobook. So I think yes, it's great. It's just a different mindset, I think, to what I was doing 6 months ago.
Yeah, really good. And so that sort of leads us on to the next bit, is sort of, what's the best piece of advice you've been given or you found on your journey?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different advice and so many different things you can learn. I think going back to what I was saying about coming out from university, and you think you have to take everything in, and you need to move as fast as you can. I think actually I learned to take my time, and I have learned that sometimes times is the best medicine. You know, just when you are at work and there is a really bad situation, something really massive has just happened, I think the best things that I can do is just like take the time to take everything in and just to analyze the situation and see what was been happening. There was actually one of the book that I was reading of Dale Carnegie, and it was saying that sometimes a bad news is very rarely as bad as it looks in the first place. So it is important to be patient, and very often very often it can be quite destructive not to be patient. So there was quite something that really struck with me, and he says, what goes around comes around should be tattooed on the chest of every new hyperactive executive. And it's so true, because very often when you are young, and I'm seeing this in a lot of like young executive, you don't take the time to really sit down and just look at everything from every kind of perspective. You just rush into a situation, and the importance of being patient, I just think is just great. It's just like sit down and think about all of the other options and just give a little bit of time. And sometimes even a bad situation, if you leave it for a couple of minutes, or for longer if you can, it's not as bad as it can be in the first place.
Yeah, just taking that, as you say, that bit of time, patience and reflection to look at it sometimes from a different perspective.
Yeah,
that's really important. So how do you make sure you apply the knowledge you're gaining constantly, you know, and obviously your transfer from different types of careers and also different languages in different countries? How are you applying the knowledge you're gaining?
Yeah, I think our brain is not made to remember everything, and
Yeah.
it's not made to remember the knowledge that we gain. So unless if we use it constantly, we'll lose it. So in terms of the language, I try to listen to something in Spanish every day, or just to not get rid of that kind of ability to speak in Spanish or speak with other people in Spanish. But also in terms of the podcast or what I'm learning about self-development, I try to make notes when I listen to something really good, and I just think, oh, this is actually something I can use in my career, or in my work, in my role, or with my team. So I try to make notes, and then trying to remember this kind of thing. So I go back, and I've started to have like a notepad where I write the main sort of topic that I learn, the people that I listen to, and what they said, and then I can go back 6 months down the line and see, and everything comes back into my mind.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, you're really switched on for this. This is wonderful.
Yes.
And you seem to have great self-awareness of what you're doing and why you're doing it, and the benefits it brings, which is lovely. So, is there anything in particular in your career that you've really enjoyed? And what have you enjoyed most about it?
I think I really enjoyed learning and doing different things. I don't know, if I think about every kind of job that I've done, I've been always working, even when I was at university, and even doing small jobs. I've been a babysitter since I was 16 until I finished university. I've been working in a mechanical engineer company as an admin. I've been doing quite a lot of different jobs, and then moving on into the commercial side, business development, account management. So I've tried a lot of different things, and I think it's been great, because you really learn what you like and what you don't like. Just going back to the law firm, I found it really difficult to have that kind of barrier between people. And when you talk to a senior partner or to somebody very higher up in the company, is always a bit intimidating, and I didn't really like that kind of environment. So I think what I really enjoy about my career is that the fact I've been trying a lot of different things, and seen and I think it's seeing the working environment from a lot of different environments. And I remember very early in my career, I was working for a company, and and the way that people were treated, I didn't really like it. It wasn't in the law firm, but I think very often when you're young and when you are with very little experience, people might take advantage of how you are and how you behave. So I made a conscious decision that I would not be that kind of person. And I think if I didn't experience that, if I didn't see how other people could treat other people, then I would never learn how to not deal with people, not how to not manage people.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's quite important, because obviously going through that process, you sort of developed your own values of how you want to work and how you want other people to work as well.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
which I dare say people appreciate that they now work with you, because you've experienced the bad side. And sometimes it's so easy, because we were managed in a certain way, to pass that style on to others.
Yeah, yeah, and I also think that very often people they are in management or managing a team, they might not have experienced themselves how to be managed, and they might have been lucky and ended up having always management role, which is a bit or a long time has passed since the time that they were being managed by somebody else. So I think it's important to constantly remind ourselves, how do we want to be with other people, what kind of idea we want the other people to have about us, and keep that in mind.
Yeah. And also, going back to your transition, as I said, from working in different countries and also different types of job roles, would you say that's helped develop your self-esteem and confidence as well, in being able to deal with so many more different situations?
Yeah, it's quite interesting you say that, because on the weekend I was having like a virtual meeting with some girls I was studying with when I was in Spain. And I was looking at what they have been doing, and I think they moved on a bit like me, like being quite flexible in what they were doing, and they are working in HR, in marketing. So even if they was not very strictly related to what they have studied, now they have moved on with their life, and have done different things. And I was comparing their lives with other people that I know that have been always in the same place since they were born, and they've been very, very set on what they were doing and the kind of environment that they wanted to be in. And it was quite different, because if I see them, they're still like maybe working in a very small law firm, or working in court, and doing things that they were set and they thought they were doing since they were very young. And they didn't really change the mindset much. But when I see the people that have been traveling and they've been experiencing other things, I see that they're a bit more open and a bit more willing to try and move. And they're all living in not in their hometown, but they're living in maybe 300 kilometers away from where their family lives. So I think, yes, it gives you a bit more flexibility if you try different things, and if you go and live in other countries, I feel you feel less detached to your own small place or your family, or which is in a way is good, in a way is bad, because you miss quite a lot of other things that they are in that kind of place. But definitely it creates that mind frame that is what is needed in the work environment, to be flexible and to look what is around, and not to be set. I want to be that kind of person, because sometimes you can't be that kind of figures that you wanted to be when you decide what you want to be.
Okay, I like that. I think that's really important. I've actually been coaching someone, a young gentleman who's in his early 20s, and he's got a job, but he's really not sure. He wants to go traveling, but he's not sure whether to do it. And I just said, well, it's a no-brainer. Just get out there. Go and give it a go, because you perhaps won't be able to do it again.
Definitely.
So it's, I would always encourage the traveling. So what would you say has been the most challenging period of your career?
Well, I think the beginning of my career, I think really deciding what you wanted to be in life, making the decision that I wasn't going down to the law route, and deciding to do something completely different. has been difficult also because, I had to explain to my parents, your daughter
It's
is
always a
going to,
tough one.
yeah, they had really great expectation that I was going to be a judge or a lawyer in a big law firm. And then you have to explain to them, actually I would prefer to do something more commercial and work in business development and setting up a new division and working in the operational side, which is not necessarily in the legal environment. So I think it's been quite stressful the first part of my career, because I was trying to prove myself that I could do quite a lot, and I was trying all these different environments, and then at the end, things have worked out really well. And if I think back, I would just tell to myself, relax, things will happen. It's just not everything at the same time.
Yeah. No, I like that concept of, relax and just absorb it all and see which way it takes you. And I think that's really important, and don't worry too much about, I think that's in fairness on a lot of young adults at the moment, there's quite a lot of pressure that they feel they need to have an answer of a set out career, and it's, well, let's just see where it goes.
I would say don't waste your time, because that's the most important things you have. If you want to take a break and travel, that's great, but I would always put that in relationship with learning a new language or working in a new country and learning a different kind of skill, even if if it's not really related to the university you have chosen, but it's still adding some extra value to what you're doing. So I think, yes, just take your time, don't waste your time, but at the same time think about what is important, what you can learn.
Wonderful. So that's been wonderful in terms of telling us what you have done and why you've done it, what you've learned along the way, and the challenges. So what do you see as your next steps to continue future-proofing yourself and your personal development and staying relevant and value for the rest of your working career?
Yes, I think, yes, now that I've started, I really enjoy learning about self-development, and so I will definitely read more books or listen to more audiobooks and carry on that kind of path. I have been thinking about studying some sort of like university certificate or something that is relevant to the industry that I am in, and trying to do that in the evening or over the weekend. So I think this is something definitely I like to do, and is in my goals for this year, to start having something a bit more concrete, because you can learn a lot about things online and webinars, but I think once you set yourself some goals and you want to achieve a certificate or something that is that you can carry on, I think that's something that is quite important. It's just about finding the right time to do everything, but
and that is always the trouble, especially because obviously in your role you're incredibly busy. There's a lot of pressure from clients and also from the business, and quite often at the end of the day and weekends it is difficult to keep that studying going. It does require great discipline, but that's what I think I admire from what you've said is your discipline, and is your self-awareness of the importance of, one, what you have done, and two, what you need to continue to do, and also your determination. You do seem quite a determined person.
Perhaps I am, yes. Yes, but I think I'm starting to slow down a bit, and the fact I wanted to do this certificate or master this year, I have come to the conclusion that it might take me more than the time that I need. So it might take me 1 or 2 years to do it, or longer. But I think it is important to have the in our goals, and do something little every day. So I make sure that every day I've got sort of a plan, like my work life, and then I've got some sort of 4 areas that I need to work on. It could be even like 10 minutes, but one of them is learning something new, or looking after myself. It could be like even eat something healthy, or tracking down the amount of hours I'm sleeping. and so on. So I'm making notes every day as I go along, that I'm still focusing on these 4 areas on top of my work. And as I say, it could be like just 10 minutes or 20 minutes in learning something or looking after yourself. But and at the end, like if you don't write it down, it's so easy to then, you know, so say, oh, today I'm not learning anything, or I'm not really, you know, doing something for myself. But if you write it down and you are in a sort of a flow, then the day that you don't do it, you feel like, oh, what did I do yesterday? What have I learned yesterday? And that's great
discipline. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for your time. The bit I particularly like is what you said about relax and take your time before in making your decisions. Whilst you are very determined and disciplined, you seem very relaxed and seem to, you know, be pretty contented and really enjoy what you do. And I think that's a great sign and definition of success in your working life.
Yeah, no, I mean that's probably who I am. Yes, I think it's important to, you know, to have to be self-disciplined, but also like to relax and to don't take yourself too much seriously, because, you know, I've done this in the past. I've been very serious and I've been very, but it's not the point. So it's also, you know, I'm Italian, so it's part of like being content with life and and enjoy what we have.
Very important. So thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate that. That's some really nice learning points in there that I've taken away, and I'm sure people who watch this or listen to this on the podcast will be able to do so. So thank you very much for your time, and I hope that you continue to enjoy, find contentment, and, you know, those relaxing moments, as well as continue to learn and develop. And wish you all the success for the rest of your career in that area. So thank you very much, and I look forward to speaking to you again soon.
Yes, thank you. Thanks a lot. Speak soon. Bye-bye.